Hello, and welcome to the Veterans Day program. My name is Kaitlyn Anderson. I have the pleasure of interviewing one local veteran, Dale Kurth. He was unable to make the assembly today because he is vacationing in Notre Dame. Dale Kurth was a farm boy from South Dakota when he was drafted into the Army in 1961. He received his basic training when the Berlin Wall was being built and they were preparing for the Vietnam War. When Glenn was first drafted, he got homesick and couldn't wait to go home. So he stayed in touch with his family and called whenever possible. Since Glenn retired when he was drafted, he became a clerk for the company. He kept records of the soldiers in his company. His company in the Army was headquarters company. Generally, a military company would keep all of its soldiers until they were discharged. But the headquarters company was the largest company, and soldiers, approximately 2,000 soldiers total, would come and go, constantly changing units, making his job more difficult to keep accurate records. In essence, the headquarters company was like a holding tank for soldiers who were waiting to go elsewhere. He worked for a good captain and sergeant. The captain would show special treatment to Glenn, bringing him ice cream and cookies. He went like that. He also would be granted a longer leave time than normal. The average leave time was 3 days, and Glenn would receive 6 days. And he would head back to home to visit his family and friends. Thinking about his days in the Army, Glenn commented how the soldiers were paid at the beginning of the month, and they would head into town and get themselves a Ferrari, and then come to Glenn to get a loan to tide them over till the next day. Glenn, of course, did not do that and kept his money till the end of the month, and then headed into town, a true good boy. After he was back when he was in the Army, he said it was a great experience, and it was one of the best times of his life. He thinks everyone should be in the service for at least 6 months. It teaches teamwork, responsibility, and lifelong skills. It also gives you benefits after retiring from it. Glenn was awarded a Good Conduct Medal and a Medal for Marksmanship. He is now a member of the Groton Legion. When Glenn got back from his 21st month stay in the Army, he went back to work for the Groton Grain Elevator. George W. Bush once said, "We will always remember, we will always be proud, we will always be prepared, so that we may always be free." Mr. Cooper, we thank you for our service and contribution to the U.S. Army. Please give Glenn a round of applause for his service.
Hello, I'm Lewandowski, and I would like to introduce you to our next veteran, Robert Prey Sr. Robert Prey was born and raised on a farm 10 miles northwest of Groton. He attended high school in Groton and graduated in 1942. I'll do the math for you. That was 71 years ago. Robert and a friend became interested in a new program of the U.S. Navy aviation, where if they were accepted, they would skip a rate and go in a senior second class. Robert and his friend took a train to Fort Snelling, Minnesota. They took the test and luckily both of them passed. From Minnesota, they boarded a train to Memphis, Tennessee. They enlisted as second class AMN, Aviation Machinist Mate, in December of 1944. He went to boot camp in Memphis, Tennessee for 6 weeks to learn the basics of being a seaman. From basics, he went from Norman, Oklahoma for 6 months of machinist school, and then on to Miami, Florida for gunnery school, and then spent 6 more months in operations. This was all done around the time of World War II. While in Miami, the Navy had rented private pools for swimming lessons, and his barracks were in a big hotel, so life wasn't too tough at the time. His operation took place in Jacksonville, Florida, where they prepared for shipping out on a carrier. Whenever they flew, they got a flight pay. His regular pay was $79 a month, and that was bumped to $109 a month. Letters were written daily and sent for free to his family and the girl, which, by the way, and they will be celebrating their 67th anniversary this December. Let's give them a round of applause for that. Food was great for the most part, and the Red Cross was always there after flights with cookies and milk. And if you didn't have a sweet tooth but needed a nicotine fix, you could buy a carton, not a pack, but a carton of cigarettes for $1. Today, that same carton would cost you $20. The only time he remembers questioning the cook was when a buddy told him that they were eating roasted meat. Yes, roast meat. One of his most memorable operations was when he was sent out as a scout in search of 5 torpedoes that were lost in the Pacific. They were never found and believed to be lost in the Bermuda Triangle, which is still a mystery today. After that, Germany surrendered and all plans were stopped. They could not be discharged until they had enough points. So they were then shipped to San Diego, California. Their days in California were spent doing maintenance work on planes. Robert earned the following medals for his dedication to the military: World War II Victory Medal and American Area Medal. Bob was discharged in July of 1945 and went home to farm. Bob was proud to have served in the U.S. Navy. He is a lifetime member of the Groton Legion Post 39 and VFW. Sue Kelly eloquently said, "The sacrifices made by veterans and their willingness to fight in defense of our nation merit our deepest respect and praise." Robert, we are so glad that you made it here today, and we truly appreciate your service to help maintain our independence. One more round of applause for our veteran, Robert Kurth.
And now I'm going to talk to you about Dale Kurth. Dale Kurth enlisted in the Marine Corps after graduating from Groton High School in 1959. His cousins talked him into it, but forgot to mention what boot camp was like. Dale passed his physical and then was flown to San Diego, California, to Camp Pendleton for basic training. When he got to basic, there was nothing but a lot of screaming, and he wondered, what had he got himself into? Sergeant Moore was the drill instructor. Dale had no problem calling his name after all these years. Basic training taught him that everyone had a job and they needed to work as a team. Dale's basic training lasted 11 weeks, and when his training was over, he flew to Memphis, Tennessee to aviation school. He picked helicopter training because it was new and interesting. Crew chief was the name of Dale's position. Within 4 years of being in the Marines, he acquired 1,000 hours of airtime. Dale entered Squadron 362 HMM, which stands for Helicopter Medium. He went to Okinawa and was assigned to carrier Princeton. Dale flew to Hong Kong and the Philippines. H-34 was the name of the helicopter he was chief mate for. Machine guns mounted on the front struts to help with protection. If you've ever heard of the unit Shoe-Fly, that was the name of Dale's unit, which is still in the media today. Dale's squad was classified as a drop and leave, which meant they brought troops to the site and left as quickly as they could. The helicopters only flew at ground level, or 2,000 feet, and 125 miles per hour, so that they would limit the amount of ground fire attacks. They mainly flew from the Mekong River bottom to the southern tip of Cambodia. Fortunately, they didn't lose any people, didn't crash any helicopters, and plug oil leaks if they were hit. His helicopter was actually hit, but they didn't even notice until they had landed, because the fire was from so far away that it didn't have enough power to make it through the side of the helicopter. 10 seconds was the time allotted to get 12 men out of the helicopter. Sometimes it didn't always work out that way. Sometimes the helicopters would land in rice paddies. One of the funny tactics of the enemy was when they would hide underwater in wet rice paddy canals and breathe out of straws so we couldn't see them. We outsmarted them many times by sending water buffalo through the water to chase or scare them out of it. When out of action, the squad lived on an old Japanese airstrip from World War II, and they slept in tents. There was a highway that ran right next to the airstrip, and every once in a while they would get fired through the camp, but nobody was ever hit. To make more room for more American troops, they moved people and all their possessions from small villages to safe areas. Many of the Vietnamese did not want to move since they had lived there their entire life, but if they refused, they would be killed. And they even moved their chicken, ducks, and cattle for them by helicopter. Notice the picture of the cow. One memorable time was when a helicopter was carrying supplies and another squadron went off the carrier and crashed into the ocean. Dale really missed his family while in the military, but he enjoyed seeing all the countries. After being in Vietnam for 3.5 months, he came back to San Francisco and trained helicopter pilots for the next year. The one aspect of the Vietnam War that severely differed from other wars was the soldiers were not viewed favorably. The negative attitudes were due to politics and individual beliefs that we should not be involved in someone else's war. Dale did not wear his uniform when he was on leave because Vietnamese soldiers were often spit on and rejected because of their loyalty to their country. I'm embarrassed and ashamed for these unkind actions towards the people that are following orders and carrying out their duties to help other countries and protect our lands. Dale is a lifetime member of the Marine Corps Legion and VFW. You can see that Dale led a courageous and admirable term in the Vietnam War. We are so honored that you shared your story and pictures with us. You are truly a hero in our hearts. Please join me in commending Dale for his service to our community.